Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? My name is Ron Williams. I'm City Treasurer, and it's my pleasure to host you this afternoon. And we've got a great lineup of speakers that will give you lots of good information. And we hope that you leave here with the ability to save yourself some money by not paying as much tax as you have been paying. It's our pleasure to host this for the second year in a row, and we will probably continue to do this because this information, I know this is my 43rd year as your treasurer, and in all those years, it's been something that's been very near and dear to my heart to be able to go out and give these presentations about tax relief. And I was involved in starting the program for the tax relief for the elderly and disabled originally with the Director of Social Services. We literally sat down and crafted the original ordinance back in the early 80s. So but we need to get the word out, and we need to let you know exactly how to make application, not only for that program, but for any other program that we offer a tax discount for. So that's our goal this afternoon, is to help you with that process. And to do that, first of all, I want to introduce my Chief Deputy, Andrew Owen, who did all the administrative work to put this together. And Andrew, I thank you for that. You did a great job on that. I'd like to introduce the Commissioner of Revenue, Susan Draper, and our Assessor, Billy Butt. Did I see Mary? And if you would stand up, Mary. Mary Holmes, the Tax Relief Application Manager in Social Services. That will be your panel of speakers this afternoon. They're going to share a lot of information with you. And after each speaker, we'll take a little 5-minute for questions at that point, and then we'll move right into the next speaker. We should be able to wrap the whole program up in about an hour. We've got the room for 2 hours. So if you want to stay and see Susan or Billy or Andrew or me or Mary after we're finished with the presentation, then we'd be happy to answer questions about individual situations and so forth. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, and Andrew's going to speak for the Treasurer's Office and also share a little bit of information about the packet that you have this afternoon and how you can put it to good use. There are two things I wanted to share with you to keep in mind as you go through. In my years of experience in working with this area of the law, it's mostly about not understanding or not being concerned or being afraid to share information and things of that nature. Please, if you know of somebody or if it affects you personally, these are very nice people. They all want to help you. They don't want to take that information and use it against you. So, please be willing to, go through the packet. The application, it's stealing a little bit of your presentation, Andrew, but the application is actually in your packet. And so you can see what the information is that is required for the tax relief for the elderly and disabled. The other thing that I wanted to share with you anecdotally was I had a good friend one time that was always complaining to me about his tax bill. Imagine that, I never hear that. And I said, well, we should look into, I think he was 80 at the time, good friend, loved him, and said we should look into tax relief for the elderly. He said, I've got too many assets. I said, well, maybe it's time that you gave some of those assets to your daughter, and then we can get you on the program. So think creatively as we go through this. If there's something that's keeping you from qualifying for a program, then maybe there's something that can change and benefit you and somebody else at the same time, and you can pay less taxes at the same time. So enjoy the afternoon. Thank you all so much. It does our hearts good to see you out this afternoon, and we hope you'll leave here with some good information that can help you. And we appreciate you coming out. Andrew?
Well, good afternoon again. It's good to see many familiar faces and meet some new ones as well. I know that I spoke with many, if not most of you, over the phone or by email when you registered, and I hope that you found us easily today. I know for some of you it might be your first time in City Hall. Others of you, I know you're here frequently. One other thing that I would note is that we are having this meeting today recorded, and it will be on the city's website and on the city's YouTube page. And I mention that because maybe you'll get home and you'll think, yeah, you know what, I can't remember how they handled that question. Or maybe you know somebody who couldn't make it today and they would benefit from watching it later. So I do want to make you aware of that as well. So certainly you can tell any friends or family or neighbors or anyone you know who couldn't make it, who would have liked to have made it, you can let them know. Additionally, in the white bag that you got, there's a few bits of information that I just want to make you aware of quickly. You're going to see here a real estate tax relief brochure, and this hits all of the high points. The second document is the actual real estate tax relief application. So everyone will leave here today with an actual application in hand. Lastly, and we're not going to really touch on this today, but we do have some information about the City of Suffolk's dog licensing program that the Treasurer's Office handles. So I just want to make you aware of that. We did give everybody an ink pen, and then Susan Draper, our commissioner, provided a little notepad, a little sticky notepad in everybody's bag. So if you want to jot something down, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to spend a few minutes before we get into the tax assessment and relief processes and talk a little bit about what the Treasurer's Office does, because today we have the Treasurer, Commissioner of the Revenue, Real Estate Assessor, and as well as Social Services, and we all play a different role in the taxation process, and so we want to make sure that everybody understands what each department's role is in this. The Treasurer is an elected constitutional officer in the City of Suffolk, one of 5. And the Treasurer is responsible for billing and collecting all taxes and fees and revenue owed to the city, for investing all of the city's funds, providing safekeeping for and accounting of the city's funds. Real estate taxes are assessed by the city assessor, and the city assessor is appointed by city council. Real estate taxes are billed on a fiscal year basis, July 1st to June 30th, and we collect those taxes 2 times a year. As many of you are aware, you get that bill. The first half of the fiscal year is due June 5th. The first half is due December 5th, the second half being due June 5th. And then personal property taxes and all other taxes are assessed by the Commissioner of the Revenue, who's also an elected constitutional officer. Personal property taxes are billed on a calendar year basis, and they're due once each year on December 5th. And so you, the citizens, really do have a large role and a large voice in this process, because you elect your mayor and city council who set the tax rates and due dates. You elect the mayor and city council who appoints the assessor, and you elect the treasurer and the commissioner of the revenue, the commissioner who assesses all taxes other than real estate, and the treasurer who bills and collects and handles all of the payments. I want to hit a highlight on a few other points. In the last several years, our biggest goal is to keep people in their homes, in their cars, and in their businesses. And I know that in light of COVID and many of the other things that have happened in our world, that has been very challenging for a lot of people. And so what we have done is really engage in a firm but compassionate collections approach, putting people on payment plans, working with them with their unique situations that they may have, having events like this today, and trying to be understanding of the different situations in which people find themselves. And one thing that I want to point out, maybe you're sitting here today and you're thinking, well, I think I might qualify for real estate tax relief, or I think I might qualify for some kind of reduction in personal property, but I have past due taxes. Well, that's okay. Your taxes don't have to be brought current in order to qualify for something. And so please don't let that deter you from applying for anything. If you meet the criteria for any kind of tax relief, please go ahead and apply, be granted that tax relief, and then our office will work with you to help you get current on anything that's past due, because we don't want that to be a hindrance for anybody. Lastly, something that we really have had a lot of positive feedback for is effective July 1st, 2021, City Council adopted the Treasurer's recommendation to permanently absorb the convenience fee for electronic payments. That had been in place temporarily for a year prior during COVID when our building was closed to the public, and we found that it was beyond time to make it easier for citizens to pay their taxes, whether they're paying in person by credit card, debit card, or whether they're paying online or on their phone or whatever method they're paying for, particularly if someone's homebound, if someone's out of town. We don't want to make it complicated, and we kind of look at it like if you can order something from Amazon now when it's on your doorstep tonight or tomorrow, then you shouldn't be charged an extra fee to pay your taxes. And so we've really worked to make it easier and more convenient for people to pay their taxes through all kinds of other mediums rather than coming in. You can still come in, and we're happy to see you and happy to visit with you. And if you do, I think you'll find that your wait in line is much shorter. You can still mail your payment. That's perfectly fine. And we'll get it worked up faster, but you can pay electronically without any kind of fee. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Susan Draper, who's going to provide some really good information about her office and what she provides to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So it's nice to see a somewhat large crowd here today. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been Commissioner of Revenue since 2014. I was born and raised here in Suffolk. I graduated from Forest Glen High School, which is now a middle school. So I got my Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Old Dominion University. And I did so while I was working as an apprentice machinist at Newport News Shipbuilding. So from there, now I'm a CPA and, of course, the Commissioner of Revenue. So I'm happy to be here today. So I administer 4 types of the tax relief that I'll go over today. I'm not going to read all the 4 to you because I have a slide on each one. So the first one is the personal property tax relief. We call it PPTR. That's all we ever call it because the other name is too long. So the backstory on that is, well, first of all, it's a state-funded initiative, but it's administered by my office. But in a nutshell, I'll read you the first paragraph. Since 2006, qualifying motor vehicles are provided a percentage of tax relief, annually fixed. It's based on the total value of all the qualified vehicles applied to the first $20,000 in value. But I want to give you the backstory on that, how that all came about. So back in 1998, Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore, he secured legislation to phase out the car tax over 5 years. As a matter of fact, that was his campaign slogan, no more car tax. Well, we know today that never happened. But the intent was for the state to pay each locality the lost revenue from foregoing the car tax. So it started out, they were phasing it in over the 5 years. In year 4, it had gotten up to 70% of the state paying for the tax, the car tax, and that was back in 2001. At that point, they realized it was far too costly. The state could not continue to pay our taxes for us. So in year 5, they capped it at the 70%. But as the cost continued to rise, in 2004, the state, they set it that each locality got a flat amount. So beginning in 2006, that's when each locality got a flat amount, and it was based on what we had in year 4, or year 5, I guess, with the 70%. So we get the same amount today that we got in 2006. So 18 years later, we get the same amount. So it's over $10 million. So only qualified vehicles get the relief, and that's passenger vehicles weighing 10,000 pounds or less. So if you have TK or truck tags, you do not get the tax relief. It cannot be registered to a business, and if you use your vehicle for more than 50% business and claim it on your federal income tax return, you do not qualify for it either. So going back to the numbers, in 2004, we were getting 70% relief. But then by 2006, when the state just gave us a certain pot of money instead of the 70%, we were down to 58%. And in 2023, last year, we only get 34% relief. And the reason it goes down each year, it goes down because Suffolk's a growing locality, so it's more and more people, more and more cars, and the value of vehicles just has increased dramatically, as we all know. So my job with this is to take that pot of money, that $10,169,730, and yes, I know that number by heart now. So my job is to take that pot of money, figure out what the percent should be that we spend that whole pot of money, but not too much, but we don't want to leave any on the table either for the city. So I'll go back. In summary, the PPTR, it applies to privately owned, personal use passenger vehicles with gross receipts of 10,000 pounds or less. And there's no action needed on your part for this. It's automatically computed on your bill, so you already get the discount automatically. So the second tax relief initiative from my office is the military tax exemption. Do we have any active duty military in here? Do we have retired military? Yeah. So unfortunately, this is just for the active duty, but perhaps y'all know someone, like my son is active duty, but he's domiciled in Virginia, so he doesn't qualify. So this is for military members and their spouses. They're exempt from personal property taxes, like I said, domiciled in a state other than Virginia. They have to provide their leave and earning statement each year because that's the only way we would know if they retired and they were no longer qualified. I do want to say if you had a vehicle and you have your children or other people on the title with you, they lose their exemption status. It can only be for the military member and their spouse. And then the military reserve members, they only get the exemption if they're called up for active duty, full-time active duty. And lease vehicles, only the first 20,000 in value is exempt. I do want to say too, for the military, that's for all of their vehicles, all their, it can be car, truck, motorcycle, RV, travel trailer, anything. So the third initiative is the disabled veterans tax relief. Now, this is just for a single vehicle only, unlike the military, it's just for one vehicle. So do we have any disabled veterans? You don't have to say, but you can. Okay. So to qualify for relief, a veteran must be certified by the Department of Veteran Affairs. And we require proof in our office, but all we want in my office is the summary benefits letter. We don't want all the detail, all the medical issues, just the summary benefits letter. And that has everything on there we need in order to qualify you. The first time this came out was in 2014, and it was a local option for a reduced tax rate. And the qualifications are listed here. Most people qualify for the other ones, so I'm not going to read all of these, but they're on the slide. But then, and meaning local option, meaning the state code says the locality may give this reduced tax rate, and our city council fortunately voted for it and put it in place beginning in 2014. But then beginning in 2021, the state law came out with a total tax exemption. It's a little bit different though, a little bit harder to qualify. The disability has to be 100% service connected, and that's the real big difference between the two, permanent and total, or the veteran has to be paid at the 100% rate due to it being service connected, again, total and permanent. So you can only get one or the other. Most people qualify for the full tax exemption, but if not, we try to at least qualify for the reduced tax rate. And again, that's on one vehicle only. And this is only for your passenger cars. Your RVs or motorcycles do not qualify for this. Another note, if you do qualify and you sell or trade your vehicle, we'll automatically apply it to another vehicle. You can call us if you like. Well, we're going to pick your highest value car and put the exemption on that to save you the most money. Then the last one is the high mileage adjustment. That one's my favorite because, you know, I commuted for many years, so it would have applied to me if I had known about it back then. The whole premise of this is if we own the same vehicle, say a 5-year-old vehicle, and my vehicle or your vehicle has 150,000 miles on it, and mine only has 50,000 miles on it, that means my vehicle's worth more, which means I should pay more taxes. So the one that's got excessive mileage, we allow a discount which lowers the value. So what it's based on is, the slide says NADA mileage tables, but NADA was bought out by J.D. Power. We still call it NADA. So there are actual tables in our book that, so many miles, and it's about 15,000 miles a year. Of course, we don't know how many miles you put on it last year and the year before, but it's kind of on an average. So if a 3-year-old vehicle has 50,000 miles, you may get a benefit from it. But if it has more miles, you'll get even a bigger benefit. So the more miles on it per year, the bigger benefit. But a good rule of thumb is the 15,000 miles per year. And if you have any doubt, you can call our office. You don't have to come up here, just call the number on the notepad in your bag, and you can tell us what car you have and how many miles, and we'll tell you whether we need documentation. Because we need something for the auditors to give you the deduction. So it's something with the VIN number and the mileage. So that could be a state inspection sticker or a receipt from repairs, oil change. The reduction, it does not apply to motorhomes, large trucks, trailers, or old cars that are older than 2005. So we also, periodically, we do drive-up events, and we try to advertise these in the newspaper and on the website, where you can drive up and we'll actually be outside and you kind of do a drive-by and we look at your odometer, and if you qualify, we'll give you the deduction right then and there. But I don't let my staff go out into the parking lot just any time you come here, because it would be a safety issue. So you either have to provide documentation or come up on one of our drive-up events. And that was the 4 initiatives for my office. I hope maybe one of them applied to you. If it doesn't, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors about it, especially if you know somebody that commutes. I mean, I live 3 miles from the office. I no longer have high mileage. I do not get a deduction. You can call my office at any time with questions about it. And I also have a satellite office located on Bennetts Creek Park Road in North Suffolk. That's in the library on that road. So did anybody have questions?
Does this way veteran has to apply for this qualification every year?
No, that's a one-time, because once it's permanent and total, it's permanent and total. So that is a one-time thing. Military members, LES every year. Disabled veterans, one time. Very good question. Thank you.
I know you've got a form for the real estate relief. Is there a form for the property tax relief?
As far as
Applying for it,
for the disabled veteran or military or anything?
over 65, is it just for veterans?
Well, unfortunately, we do not have senior,
Okay.
yeah, for personal property.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, though, because some localities do, I believe. So, anyone else?
Okay, I was wondering, with the vehicle decreasing in value, is that based on years? And or I think you explained that it was not necessarily the years, but the high mileage, maybe adjustments?
Well, typically a vehicle depreciates over time. COVID and supply chain issues did some crazy things to the values, and the values actually went up for a couple of years. But generally, your value goes down every year. But also, if you're referring to the high mileage part, the older it gets, the more miles would be expected to be on it, so it takes more miles to get the discount. So,
Can I ask another question?
sure.
When this law was established, was there a cutoff date? Does
Um,
that make sense?
I can make adjustments for the current year and 3 years back. So 4, 3, 2, 1.
We'll have to vote again on. I mean, I'm not used to a personal property tax, auto tax.
Right.
When I moved here, we didn't have that. But they had another way of getting taxes.
Right.
Personal property. Anyway, I was just wondering, when it was instituted, did they have a cutoff time saying, well, for 10 years we'll do this personal property tax to get this money?
No, that's, it's basically, I think the law in Virginia is taxable unless it's not taxable. So,
If I'm not mistaken, one time it was 10 years after that, because your values that going up that high, you wouldn't be paying the taxes.
well, eventually the value drops so low that if it's below $1,000, we let the personal property tax relief cover it. So once it drops below $1,000 in value, all you have to pay is the vehicle license fee.
Since the pandemic came up, it ran prices up and
Did.
still, and sometimes even the same tax rate stayed the same, and my car didn't depreciate.
Right. And we actually last year and the year before, we tried to account for it somewhat by, there's a section of the law that allowed me, with the concurrence of city council, to apply a discount basically to it. So 2 years ago, when the vehicle values, they just skyrocketed, new and used, we gave a 25% discount, and last year we gave a 10% discount. And we were one of only like 5 localities in the state of Virginia that gave a discount last year. So this year we went back to the normal native values. So they're starting to normalize now, but they were very high the last couple of years before. So, any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is an antique car, like way back below the year,
Right.
and it's still operable, does it ever go to zero tax?
Well, I don't go out there and look at your antique car and say, that is a beauty, and I'm going to tax more. So, but they do, they kind of fall off of NADA and they depreciate down, and once they're below $1,000 in value, I don't go out and look at your restored cars and tax those. It kind of goes just from the NADA values. So yeah, eventually they do fall out of the NADA book and below the value, and they're not taxed. And then with the antique, if you get the antique tags, we do not charge the vehicle license fee. The antique tags from DMV. Any more? All right, as always, call my office, stop by. Don't forget the satellite office if any of y'all live up in the north side of Suffolk. Thank you. Oops.
Thank you, Susan, for that good information. So our next speaker is Mary Holmes. Mary is the tax relief application manager for the tax relief for the elderly and disabled on real estate. There's an application, if that's what you were asking about earlier, there's an application in your package and for real estate.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mary Holmes. This is a sweet lady that will process your applications and reduce your real estate bill so it's affordable. Come on up, Mary.
Good afternoon, everybody. He just introduced me. My name is Mary Holmes. I'm the supervisor at the Tax Relief Unit in Suffolk Social Services. And what we do there is process your tax relief application. As the slide says, we do tax relief for elderly, disabled, and the veterans. The elderly and disabled applications are accepted each year from January 1st through June the 30th, and the veterans are the whole year round. The real estate tax relief program for the elderly and disabled persons provide a reduction for real estate taxes for the home and up to 10 acres of land. And keep in mind, if your additional land is in land use, then that would affect your tax relief. An application must be filed annually with the Suffolk Department of Social Services for which the year tax relief is sought. And if you're new to the program, then your tax relief is not going to start until December of that year. But if you're ongoing, it's just a renewal process. We determine the eligibility. We notify our customers via mail, email, however you want to receive your notice. That's how we notify you. During the pandemic, it created a hardship for many of our elderly people because they couldn't get out and they couldn't get their applications into us. So they lost their tax relief, and that was a hardship for them. But after that, and when they would call and say, Ms. Holmes, I can't get my paperwork in, I said, well, I'll be through there. And I am telling you, I did more home visits than a little, picking up and dropping off paperwork because I understood the hardship that it would be. Some people think, well, $500 isn't a whole lot, but to some people on a fixed income, $500 is a lot of money to have to come out of your pocket. So that's what we do there. The veteran, the Commonwealth of Virginia exempts from taxation real property, including joint real property of husband and wife of any veteran who has been rated by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, having a 100% service-connected permanently and totally disability, and they occupy the residence. Some of them apply, but they haven't moved in the house yet. So it has to be their primary residence. They have to be in that house when they make that application. And the exemption applies to the qualifying dwelling and also provides exemption for the real property from the land not exceeding 10 acres upon which it is situated. They have the same conditions as the elderly and disabled. Veterans only need to apply for the benefit one time unless they move or they die. Okay, in addition to the veterans tax relief, applications are taken all year round with no restrictions to income, no restriction to resources. We have found out that with some of the veterans, they get divorced, they move out of the house, and so the spouse is in the house, and if she's not eligible, she will have to pay the taxes, or vice versa. Whoever the veteran was, if the other one leaves the home, the other one will then be responsible for those taxes. And it's based on a combination of factors for the veteran, but they just have to be that 100% permanently and totally disabled with a service-connected disability. They can be 80% and paid at 100% and be permanently and totally disabled. They will still qualify for the tax relief program. And so when we approve them, we go back to the date that they were determined disabled or the day they became a resident in the city of Suffolk. They have to be in Suffolk. So if they were determined 100% permanently and totally disabled January 1st, 2024, but they didn't move into their home until March 1st, 2024, the eligibility process begins March 1st, 2024. They have to be a resident in the city of Suffolk before that would take effect. And then we send that information over to the treasurer's office, the tax assessor's office. It has a number of offices that it go through when we have to do retro. We can go back as much as 3 years if they've lived in the city of Suffolk, and they will be compensated for that. All of that is done over in the treasurer's office, the tax assessor's office, and a couple of other offices that are involved over here. So we let the veteran know, we've approved you, but it's gonna take about 60 days for them to catch up with you because they take them in the order that they are received, and it's a lot of them. To qualify for the 24-25 tax relief, the applicant must be 65 years of age or turning 65 by June 30th. They'll be permanently and totally disabled. Some of our applicants are not 65. They don't receive anything from Social Security, but they have 2 medical exemptions that they have received from 2 different doctors that say they cannot work, they are disabled. Those people will also qualify as well. They must be owners, partial owners, and must occupy the property or have life rights to the residence to be exempt. They can be an heir. You know, if they're heir and the owner dies and they decide, I want to move into grandma's house, they're an heir, they're entitled to it. The total gross combined income of the homeowner, spouse, and all relatives in the home in the dwelling cannot exceed $73,740. The first $10,000 of the relative's income is exempt. If a person is under 65 and disabled, they will get $7,500 off of their income. So I have some call me and say, well, I don't think I'm going to be eligible. I think I make this much money. I said, well, you let us determine that. You fill out the application and leave the eligibility to us. Don't say you're not disabled and disqualify yourself when we have some other exemptions that apply that may put you on a lower tax bracket, but you will get tax relief. You may get 25%, you may get 50, you may get the 100, but just don't disqualify yourself. And then the net combined financial worth, excluding the home and up to 10 acres on which it is situated, cannot exceed $330,497. Your home is not included in that, but we look at all your resources. your annuities, your CDs, your IRAs, the cash value and life insurance policies, vehicle value. We look at 401ks. We look at all of that to determine your eligibility. And you may be at $330,497, but then you may have a lien somewhere. You may have a liability somewhere, which would reduce that. So don't count yourself out. Let us do that. Let us do that. If you're not going to be, if you're eligible, we know what to apply. You may not know of everything, but we do. And we try our best to make people eligible, because help is help regardless to how much it is. And application must be filed with the social services between January 1st and June 30th. And we are in the process of doing that now, processing applications and trying to get the determinations made before June, or no later than June 30th, because the pressure will be on July 1. I will be getting an email from over here on where that spreadsheet is so they can determine the taxes. So we're working at a steady pace to process those applications as they come in. Applications may be email, faxed, or mail. You may pick up an application at Social Services on Hall Avenue during regular business hours. The exemption is granted on an annual basis, and a new application or recertification has to be completed every year. You don't have to worry about calling us. We pull that information from a spreadsheet and send that information out January 2nd every year. This year we sent out 1,200 recertifications, 500 reapplications, and I don't know how many new applications we're gonna have, but we mail those out, so you don't have to worry about calling us and asking us, where's your recertification? You're going to get it unless something happens with the mail, and if you don't get it, you still have opportunity to apply, because at a certain point, we pull another spreadsheet to see who has not sent back their information. Those people get another application. We give you another opportunity to get that information into us. If eligible, as I stated, the relief will begin December 5th of this year and June 5th of next year, unless that case closes. Any additional information and required documentation can be obtained by calling us at the numbers listed: 757-514-4870, 757-514-4222, or you can call me, 757-514-7390. The tax relief application only applies to real estate taxes and does not impact personal property tax income or taxes. We have nothing to do with that. We're only trying to help you reduce your real estate taxes. And these are the figures. The tax exemption is limited to the median income value of a single-family residential property. Therefore, the exemption is capped at this figure or the assessed value, whichever is less. The tax years 23-24 are as follows, and these are the figures that we use. This is the maximum income, and this is the cap family median income. Now, you may get a letter that says you're 100%, your level of eligibility is 100%, yet you still may have to pay some taxes. That's because your home is valued over that $321,000. So we get some customers that call and say, well, my letter says I'm 100%. Well, why am I paying taxes? It's because your home exceeds that $321,000, so you have to pay the difference between that and the value of your home. And that's calculated in the treasurer's office over here. Okay, and I just wanted to mention one other program that we have. It's called the Line of Duty Deceased Tax Relief Program, and that's for those that were killed in the line of duty: police, firemen, EMTs, and there are several others. That program also is new to us. We just started that program, but if you think that your spouse was killed in the line of duty, you can always apply and let us evaluate that information. Any questions? Yes.
Actually, I have 4 or 5 questions. Should I ask them all, or wait till the end?
You can wait till the end, and I'll meet you over there, and we can discuss them. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
You said the person who's living with you, their income is included also?
Yes, it is. Relatives only, though. So if you have a neighbor, or you took in somebody lives with you, we don't count their income. But everybody that's related in the household, their income counts, and they get a $10,000 deduction off of their income. So if they make $50,000, we're only gonna count 40 because we're gonna give them that $10,000 deduction.
How long do you have to live with the county income?
I'm sorry?
How long does a relative have to live with you to be counted the income?
Well, if they're in your home at the time you apply, and they're gonna be in your home for the next 6 months, we have to look at that. But you can always report that, you know, that someone moved in or moved out. That's a responsibility that our customers have, to report any changes that may affect their eligibility, their income level. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Really appreciate that great presentation. Next up is our assessor, Billy Butt, and Billy has been a great addition to the city over the past couple of years, and we're so glad to have him in Suffolk, and he's quite an asset. I guess you're beginning to see the workflow, how things flow from the Commissioner of Revenue to the Treasurer, from the social services to the assessor and the Treasurer, and we all work together, and it has to work that way in order to make the system work. But it's a great team to work with, and Billy, so glad to have you as part of it.
Thank you, Ron, and good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see such a big crowd out here, and I appreciate your time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the land use program first. I'm going to be very, very brief on that, but I want to make sure I touch on some other stuff because we've got a big deadline coming up, and I want y'all to know about it and be able to take advantage of it if you need to. So I'll give you a little introduction of myself. I was born and raised in Portsmouth, Virginia. I spent 25 years in the private appraisal industry before moving into the mass appraisal industry. I was the assessor in Portsmouth for a few years. And then I was appointed out here in Suffolk. Was educated at Old Dominion University with a degree in finance. And let's see, Monday is my 36th anniversary, wedding anniversary with my high school sweetheart, Valerie. I have 2 children. My daughter's a medical student at EVMS, and my son is an airline pilot for American Airlines. So very proud of all them. So I always like to say that. So the city of Suffolk participates in the state's land use program and the purpose of the land use program is to encourage the preservation and proper use of such real estate in order to assure a readily available source of agricultural, horticultural, and forest products. So we participate for agricultural lands, horticultural purposes, and forestry, okay, here in the city of Suffolk. It's to conserve natural resources in forms which will prevent erosion and to protect adequate and safe water supplies, to preserve scenic natural beauty and open spaces, to promote proper land use planning and the orderly development of real estate, and to promote a balanced economy and relieve pressures which force conversion of large tracts of real estate to more intensive uses. So what is agricultural land? It's land that meets prescribed standards for bona fide production of crops and livestock, or land that is an approved soil conservation program. These are all state approved programs. And you must have a minimum of 5 acres in order to qualify for agricultural. Horticultural use, lands that meet prescribed standards for bona fide production for sale of fruits, vegetables, ornamental plants, and ornamental products. And again, for that, you must have a minimum of 5 acres of producing lands. And forestry, land including the standing timber and trees thereon devoted to tree growth in such quantity and so spaced that is maintained as to constitute a forest area under standards prescribed by the state forester. And for forestry, you must have a minimum of 20 acres to qualify. Like I said, I wanted to be brief on that. If you have any questions at all about the land use program or you want to apply, I've got some business cards out on the table right as you leave the door. Please call my office and talk to Sarah. She's our land use coordinator, and she is a wealth of information, and she will make sure you get all you need, and if you're going to apply, she'll get you the application and help you through that process. So
I want to know why it changed. When I moved to Suffolk in 1987, I bought a place, I built a new home. 5 acres of timber was all I needed. And then it jumped up to 20 acres. It's just like the appraisal on my house.
yes, sir.
It far exceeded anything it cost to keep me above what she said I needed to be below to get help. What promotes all this stuff? It's beyond my understanding.
So I can't speak as to why the minimum acreages have changed, because that happened long before.
Before you got here, but they were.
But in a minute, I'll speak about the assessed values. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Because if the taxes keep going up, in another 12 or so years, I'll be homeless. But the good news is, they're passing a law that I can camp out in front of this place and
I understand. Yes, ma'am.
What about wetlands? What's the qualification or the standards for those?
So wetlands can be included in the minimum acreage that you have in the forestry program. So, and they price out at a little different rate. I don't know what the rates are, but Sarah in my office can certainly give you that information. And then, of course, we have certain fees for applying for this program and whatnot, and they're pretty self-explanatory up there. But what I really want to talk about is not so much the assessment process, but the appeals process that we have going on right now for our assessments. So we assess your property every year. We assess en masse, which means we assess large groups of properties, basically neighborhoods together, okay? And we report the values to you all in early March, late February, and then we have an appeal season. So there are 3 ways to appeal. We have an informal appeal where you can call our office, you can talk with the appraiser that did your neighborhood, you can talk with me if you'd rather talk to me, and they go over the process, they check your record, make sure your record's complete and accurate, and if you're not happy at the end of the informal process, then you can appeal to the Board of Equalization. That group is an appointed board of 3 members. 2/3 of them have to be involved in the valuation of real estate, which we do. We have 2 appraisers on our board. They're appointed separately from us. They don't have anything to do with us other than we provide them information, and we process the applications for the board hearings, and then they listen to the taxpayer, they listen to us, to our defense of our assessment, and they make a decision. And then the 3rd level is a circuit court lawsuit. Okay, we don't have many of those. I had a few of them in Portsmouth. They're typically reserved most of the time for larger taxpayers, more difficult properties to appraise. But we do a pretty good job in the appeals process of explaining what we do and how we do it. And I would say for the most part, most people leave the room understanding what we've done. If they don't, I hope that they will reach out to me personally, and I can explain it a little further or take another look. But keep in mind, we're appraising, we got 18 appraisers in our office, and we're appraising 46,000 parcels a year. So we don't get in all of them. We don't get in anywhere near all of them. So it's very important that our records are correct. So when you do file an appeal or you do call in for the informal process, it gives us an opportunity to drill down on a single property, and we become more like a fee appraiser in the way we think about how we do it. So we're required by law to assess at 100% of fair market value. We do a lot of processes. We use ratio studies to analyze sales as they compare to the assessments throughout the year, and then we make decisions and we make, additions to our cost models and our land tables, and then the assessments come out the other end. They kind of are what they are at that point, and then we have a discussion in the office about where we really want to go with moving them up, down, staying the same. And obviously, the last few years, it's been nothing but up. And it's just a result of the market. The market has been hot, and it's been very, very hot out here in Suffolk. So with that, we have until May 1st to get appeals in. That's next Wednesday, I believe. That's our deadline for the appeals. So I encourage you, if you want to talk about your assessment, call our office in the next couple of days so we can get an appraiser on the line with you and get your house looked at before the deadline. So if there are any questions, I'll be glad. Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure I understand what you said. You assess homes in a group. So it can be $500,000 home and $200,000 home within the same group. Is that my understanding, the way you assess?
So that can happen. We try to kind of, as we go through our final process of the increases and the decreases, or the cost table additions, we try to make sure we're not doing a lot of that, like you said, a $500,000 house and a $200,000 house. There's lots of differences, but we're using cost tables. So if it's 1,000 square feet, it's going to be multiplied by a certain cost per square foot, and if it's 3,000 square feet, it's going to be multiplied by another cost. So that there is a difference, and there's also depreciation that we factor in as well. So yes, that happens. And it's not a perfect science, but we try to get it right. And like I said, if you're having difficulty with yours, please call. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Besides the.
Good. Yeah, go ahead. And then.
Besides the sales in the area, what else do you use to determine the value of the house?
So we use cost tables that are nationally driven by a company called Marshall & Swift, and they produce cost per square foot of everything that's in a house. So you can have a base cost per square foot, and it may add a cost for ceramic tile or anything like that. Decks we can do, sheds we can do out of the Marshall & Swift cost tables, and that's how we help build our cost tables and come up, and we put them in our CAMA system, which is a computer-assisted mass appraisal system, and it calculates the values based on those costs. But we look at not only our own tables, but we look at the Marshall & Swift to help us through that.
Do you also include construction, like schools, new properties, does that also come into play?
So new construction,
Yeah.
so we look at new construction to kind of verify the cost, you know, to see, to put a check on our own cost tables. So we would look at new construction, but we don't use new construction in our ratio studies to assess older properties. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions. You said you have different people in your department that do, assess different areas for the department. Do you have a listing of your member people that goes out to each area, location? Or you just select somebody to go? Or do you have a certain person that does a certain area?
Correct. We have, our appraisers are assigned areas. They're assigned about 6,000 parcels apiece.
In my area, Pewsville?
Pewsville, Ms. White, I don't know off the top of my head who has every area, but I'll get that to you.
All right, and then the Board of Equalization, you said after you on your appeal, then you could go to their process or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there an ongoing process, or they have just a time limit like you have?
So they're required to be finished with all their hearings by June 30th.
And they're open mail also?
Now, we're taking their applications now. They will schedule their hearings for sometime late May, early June. We have to advertise those hearings.
So you do have to go through your appeal first before you want?
No. You can go straight to the board. Yes.
I'll need that number.
You just call our office for that. And the application.
Another question. Okay, back in 2001, Pewsville received a letter from City Council stating that we were not in a taxing district. And now I guess we're in a taxing district. They said they couldn't do the services of giving us stormwater drainage in our area or anything else because it said the stormwater management services in the National Taxing District was outside of their whatever. So we've been in a taxing district long past 2001. We still don't have any stormwater. But then in 2005, the federal government sent out a statement stating that everybody had to pay stormwater fees, mandatory. We've been paying stormwater fees since 2006. We still don't have stormwater. Somebody's just taking our money.
Yeah.
They're holding on to it for whatever purpose they have other than my area.
That's
We need our money.
that's a question that I can't answer. That's a different department than me. I don't have anything to do with that. I'm sorry.
That'll be Public Works one.
Probably, yeah. Public Works, correct?
Public Works is your stormwater.
But where does the tax money go? Public Works gets the tax money, or does it go to the taxing office? Mr. Williams?
Wrong.
42 years.
I guess all roads sort of end at the treasurer's office when it comes to taxation. Carolyn, the law as it's currently worded, every parcel in the city that has some form of impervious area on it is assessed stormwater fee, and it's that's citywide. Yeah. Right.
He's asking, where does the money go?
Yeah, but the thing of it is, where's our stormwater? If it's paying.
Right. Well, and it goes into the storm. Yeah. So in answer to your question, it goes into the stormwater the Stormwater Fund, which is managed by the Department of Public Utilities, Public Works, excuse me. And it goes towards all the things that are required by federal and state law in some cases to be done. And Robert Lewis is of course, you know him well. He's the Director of Public Works, and he deals with this every single day. It's cleaning out ditches. It's making sure that the stormwater is flowing.
You're telling me I need to check with the feds on this, because we don't have it yet. So I need to go to the feds. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I would start with Public Works.
I've been to Robert.
Sure, yeah. And I'm sure that, everybody is not aware there's a big project going on in Pewsville right now that.
The cable people are running live. That's all I see happening in Pewsville right now.
Right.
Now, what do you say is happening? I want to know, because I live in Pewsville too. What is happening?
Oh, well, there's a stormwater project that's underway. I don't know exactly what stage it's at right now. Again, Robert Lewis is the manager of that project, but I know that there is a big stormwater project that's.
To do what?
I can't speak to that specifically. I collect the money and provide it to those departments. Right.
Any benefit.
Is that what you said? Is that what he said?
Excuse me?
He collects the money. He's collecting Robert's money.
Right.
No, he said he collects the money.
He collects the money.
You said you collect Robert's money, right? Robert's not holding it, but it goes to the treasury.
All the money that comes into the city goes through the treasurer's office. Yes.
You hear that, Mayor? I heard.
Okay.
Make that clear. Okay, one other thing. Because we are Chesapeake and Suffolk, and you know, in Pewsville, there's supposed to be dividing lines. So some of the residents have come to us from Chesapeake saying now they're paying a tax to Suffolk on their Dominion Energy bill. So you getting that money also?
I don't know. This is the first I've heard of this. We'll research it, and if it's something that Dominion, I'm unaware of that particular issue.
Okay, well, that's something we can check into, because they want to know. If Suffolk's not doing anything for Chesapeake, it's definitely not doing anything for Pewsville, and then all this money is coming to the treasurer's office, we need to know why.
We'll check into that. The only reason I can think of that utility tax would be collected by Dominion is if it's a property that straddles the line and part of it's going to Suffolk, part of it's going to Chesapeake. That's a possibility. Andrew will be happy to research that for us. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Billy, and you have a question for Mr. Butt?
Yeah,
Yeah, go right ahead.
and I love that woman in yellow, but I'd like to add to what she said, because where I live, out in the boonies, we have no electricity, no overhead lights per se, we have no sewer, no septic, going through, I have a septic system, but we have no city sewer. Can I make a huge assumption here that my taxes are going to be less than the $500,000 houses you're talking about?
No.
Do I have all those utilities that I don't need?
Well, I can say this, and I'm not going to get property specific because we'd be here all night if I did, but we do have land curves that reflect no utilities, partial utilities, or all utilities. So there are adjustments made for properties that don't have utilities. They're made in the back end in our system on the land value side.
If
I got my, on Pioneer Road, down in Quaker Swamp, they call it Quaker Swamp. Going from 58 on to, down to Summer Creek. There's my swamp down there, or they call it swamp. 10 years ago, I could drive right down the power line, power big 100-foot power line or something. Now, you can't even drive the road, do you, when running water 3 feet deep, 4 feet deep. Been out that way now about 7, 8 years. The city cleaned the road right, water wash over the road about every 4 or 5 times a year. So the pipe ain't big enough. It's big enough, but it gets show up. But what it is, I will do 15 to 20 acres of pine, not pine, gum, maple, all that in the swamp. Been there, I cut it in 1957, my daddy did, before he died. Hadn't been cut since. And the man took me to pray, come by that number pray, come by and pray for me. He said, well, at least 15, 20 pounds. I'm gonna do every one of them trees. If the water keeps staying there, so they're gonna all die. So I know they're gonna die, because right on Quaker, on Crent Road, or at Lee White Farm, they got like 10 acres, and a 3 left homes. All gone, because it's been, I think they cut that in 1972, and never nothing come back, or the water sound all the time. But them pipes, they just don't clean out. They came out one time this spring, and the pipe, the water got near back down, wasn't 100 feet, 150 feet wide, water was. And now, right back up 10, 15 acres of water.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and it's, it's just not something, it's not something I can, I understand, and so as far as the assessment goes, or the property value goes, you can get what's called a wetland determination for that property, and if you present that to us, we will reflect that in the value.
But they're gonna cost me about $5,000 just to get the surveyor off to do it. That's what they told me, they're gonna cost them, told me at least $5,000 just to put that 15 acre on wetland.
To do a wetlands delineation, it's cost that much?
Oh, wetland there, because there's water on it.
Isn't there someone that can do that for free?
I don't,
Isn't there
The
a
Army
state
Corps of
person?
Engineers does.
yeah,
They fill out the application with the Army Corps of Engineers. They do the wetland study for free. You get them a determination.
okay, I didn't think they were still doing that, but you, okay. Yeah, I would talk to the Army Corps, that's good information. All right.
I was told a long time ago they weren't doing that anymore.
I don't, that's what I thought,
I
but,
just had one done last month on some property that I have. So they're still there.
like I said, that's good information, because I was under the same impression, but thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Butts, I noticed on the screen it said that the application fee was $50.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any way possible we could pass that and see if we qualify for it, to then pay $50?
So call Sarah, and she can tell you, she'll answer that question for you, if you, whether you qualify or not. And, yeah. But yes, the answer is yes. You can call it, find out. Yes, sir, you had a question?
You're the assessor, so you have to see if this question actually pertains to you. There are certain homes that are being built in the wetland. As soon as it rains, it goes right there. Property's underwater. It shouldn't have been built there to begin with. Now, how do you assess something like this?
So,
I mean, they got waterfront property. You assess it like that?
I mean, if it gets built, then we have to assume that it went through the process and it was approved, obviously, to be built. So we don't.
Get insurance on them, excuse me, but get insurance and everything would disqualify you if it's water.
It's all part of the planning process. If it gets approved and somebody's living in it, I'm not trying to pass a buck. I'm just, if it's,
Somebody's got to take the responsibility of saying, hey, this shouldn't be built here. You know, you're saying that, okay, it's built here, I have to assess it, but I can't assess that, it's in the water.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I have to assess it. That's my job. I have to assess all the real property. Any other questions? Yes, sir. No, I know what you're saying, but, yes, sir.
I'm making an assumption that some of our taxes go to paving and marking the roads.
I would assume so, but that's not, again, that's not.
But anyway, I was riding down Jackson Road the other day, and it's had a sign now, unmarked pavement. Well, I've been over 30 years on Manning Road, it's been unmarked pavement ever since I've been there. And some drug addict hit me head on about 5 years ago and nearly killed me, and I reckon it's because the pavement was unmarked. I mean, there's a lot of things that you guys do that I don't understand, and you've helped me a lot when you said you come from Portsmouth, because I've got a house I got in Portsmouth over 30 years, and I've paid more taxes on it than I paid for the house. I'm letting my granddaughter live there now, if I can keep the taxes up.
Yes, ma'am.
There are two other small amounts that are still there. I think it's the stormwater, I think it's the water refuse.
The water and refuse, they have to pay that.
So with that, I had an experience the month ago where my mortgage company sent that amount to the city of Suffolk. And then the city of Suffolk sent it back to my mortgage company. And then I got penalized when I saw it, I checked, and I called my tax escrow office and mortgage company, and I said, oh, you have to do it, so you have to send the money back. They said, well, they sent it back as a refund. Your city did. I said, please send it back because that's the cost of my review and my stormwater. Well, what happened was, the city of Suffolk charged a penalty and, late fees, they sent it back the second time. Is there something that can be, maybe just take a look at that? I think for the 100% and the disabled vet, there might be something happening with that.
With not collecting stormwater and refuse, or this situation that happened? Oh, the situation, no, we're aware of that, and you should have been made completely whole by that. It was a mix-up with the escrow processors outside of the city. So if you'll see Andrew, he's the fixer. He'll fix everything. Okay. Yeah, all of those have been corrected or in the process of being corrected. So you'll be made whole on that. Yes, ma'am.
Andrew gonna mark the pavement on
As long as it's within the purview of the treasurer's duties, then Andrew can handle it. But Robert Lewis is the guy you need to call because he's Public Works. Public Works will make the decision as to when the roads need to be marked and that type of thing.
It's never been marked.
Well, I understand that. It may require some application process. I'm not sure, but it's determined by Public Works. Yes, ma'am.
Ever since they started that work over there on Holland Road, traffic is really heavy on our road. Because people are cutting through there to avoid all that on Holland Road.
Tractor trailer truck.
Yeah, and besides that, with all of this warehouse stuff and all these people coming in, can the citizens somehow have relief from taxes, from all the taxes you'll be getting from the these trucking companies that we have to deal with all this extra traffic and trucks?
Well, we hope what you're talking about is a temporary thing. The construction on 460, the construction on 58 are going to be completed. There'll be another phase of it, I'm sure, down the road. But those are temporary issues that wouldn't normally come into play on the taxation issue. It's the budget process that is what you're talking about.
Warehouses and all these people that are moving in here, they'll be paying taxes, probably mega taxes.
Right, we hope so. We hope so because we have a lot of road work to be done and.
But we're having to deal with all this.
Yeah.
We should get a break.
Right.
Garden should also contribute some money towards the roads for all this commercial warehouses being built out there.
Absolutely. And that's sort of the cycle that we're supposed to go through, that when these businesses come in, they generate a lot of revenue for their companies, and they also generate revenue for the city. And that's the plan. Any other questions?
I'd like to commend all of you for the work that you all do.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I'm just saying that you all have helped me over the 19 years that I've lived here, and I appreciate it. You all have so much work. So many of us to deal with, and yet, not one time have I had to come into the commissioner or even talk to Mr. Bud or to you or any of your deputies. They have been very professional, and they will try their real best to find the answer. So I appreciate the work that you all do. And keep doing it. You can't do it. You all are an excellent, still excellent. Continue to do what you do, and just try to add a little bit more people on as you go. But you all are great. And
Don't stop. Thank you so much for that. And I want to thank Billy and Mary and Susan and Andrew. Please stand and please give them an applause for. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate your coming out this afternoon to hear this. It helps us do our jobs better. And we'll pass along every word that Carolyn had to pass, all the wisdom about Pewsville. We'll pass all the comments that we've gotten this afternoon, Manning Road included, and we'll make sure that those issues are at least heard. But at the end of the day, our purpose really was to hopefully create a higher level of awareness of the tax relief and what you can do to get some tax relief, and I hope you can take advantage of it. And if it doesn't apply to you, maybe you know somebody at your church or in your neighborhood that might qualify for it. Put that brochure in their hands, and then we will feel like that we did our job today. And we thank you again so much for being here.